very early on, I realized the only way I can transform my life as well as my family's life is education. That's the only way to get to the next level, right? I mean, I've done all kind of odd jobs when I was going to school, right? I mean, everything, and it was a nightmare in the beginning. In Nepali mindset, you have to be doctor, you have to be engineer, this for successful. No, the answer is you can be anybody and be good at what you do and can be successful.
Our guest today is Purna Kharel ji. Malai say the reason I actually wanted Purna ji to be on our podcast is, as people that know me and know about TGND know already, we're really, really passionate about the brand of Nepali tech talent, and actually tech matre, all kinds of talent. Tech talent is a big thing for us. And for me, I think the work that Purna ji is doing in terms of, bringing awareness to STEM education, engineering talent, and also bringing visibility to the opportunities available for Nepal is something that we're aligned on. Actually, in terms of the timing, the timing works great because Purna ji is hosting an event in Nepal on Feb 26th, which is going to be all about talking about these kind of things, right? Nepal ma bhako tech talent, how do we bring in resources, how do we really leverage the opportunities? And for me, I think the reason the timing and everything for the podcast works is because I wanted other people, other stakeholders to really learn about what's available in Nepal and how can we make things much better, Manera. And for our subscribers, we have a giveaway at the end of the season. We're really excited about it. And we want to thank Nepal Tea Collective for that giveaway. You'll hear more on our socials from that. Tara, please engage with our content. And now let's begin. How did your early, experiences in Nepal, how did that shape into the person you are? And the career professional you are?
Yeah, so my journey started, in a remote part of Nepal, right, in Surkhet, growing up, late 70s, early, 80s, not a whole lot of technology. I mean, think about technology. We didn't even have a motor vehicle coming to our place, right? So very early on, I realized the only way I can transform my life as well as my family's life is education. That's the only way to get to the next level, right? I've seen some working professionals like engineers in our town, and I'm like, what would it take for me to take this lifestyle that we have somewhat a little bit better, right? Then I realized the only way I can do that is education, the power of education, right? So when I was 14, I kind of realized that, and then I started putting a lot of focus on education. Obviously, I went to public school locally, but I was always very curious about what would it take for me to really become successful in life. And I used to go talk to all these senior people like engineers or any technical people. Like, what could I do today? And they're like, go take these classes like optional math and get better at science and English and math and all these things. So I started really focusing early on what is that I need to start really focusing on, right? So with that focus and my curiosity about what would it take to get to the next level, and really always looking for a mentor or someone that can answer my question all the time, that really helped me navigate the journey, right? So early on, I learned that, hey, for me to get into engineering school, I have to go to science. Back then we didn't have that many science colleges in Nepal. It was like, Amrit Science College was number one, and getting into Amrit Science College was a dream, right? And a small kid who grew up in a village with very little English foundation tried to get into, Amrit Science College was really, really hard. But I I didn't give up because I knew that was the only path for me to get to what I wanted to get to. So I was able to get in there, after 3 months of struggle by reaching out to different politicians, different, student politicians. And I was able to get into OSCO. It was called OSCO, and then I did my, ISC. It's called ISC, right, in science over there. Again, that's when I realized that I really need to work hard to transform my life, right? I met a lot of very talented kids. They went, they were very successful from their, a school where they went to, like, St. Xavier's and Buranikanta and all these good schools. Those are the kids that I was competing against. And I'm like, what is the difference between me and them? And, they have very strong foundation. They came from a very strong school. So I realized, like, I have a big gap to fill, right? So what should I do? So, and some of the seniors were telling me, well, the only way you are going to bridge that gap is put in a lot of hard work, like 12 hours days. And I'm like, you know what? That's what I'm going to do. I started putting 12 to 16 hours days for 2 years in a row. And I really bridged that gap and went to electrical engineering in Pulcher campus. That's pretty much how I started. And very early on, I realized, engineering is the only way to get out of where I was and really transform my life. And I really kind of stuck to that idea along the way,
No, I love that. And I love that how, you looked for mentors even before mentorship was a concept, right? Especially in Nepalko context. So I love that. And true, how you were always looking at comparing yourselves to others that are in a very productive, progressive way. I think that's something that, we can all learn from. That's fascinating. How was your transition from Nepal to the US? And can you tell us about some milestones and challenges you faced, Betibela?
Yeah, so one thing I forgot to mention like I said, early on, along with my desire to pursue my higher education, especially in the engineering industry, another thing that hit me really hard early on was, in addition to education, what else should I be doing with my life to transform my life from where I was, right? Not just my life, my life, my family's life, and eventually my community's life, right? That was kind of always my idea. So then I realized entrepreneurship was another thing that I really need to start looking into. My father was a small business owner, so I have seen him doing his small stuff. I knew how to make money. I knew what the cash flow was. I mean, early on, I kind of learned that a little bit, but it was a very small scale business. But at least I learned what the profit making process was, right? And what the scale may look like, right? Even though he was not able to scale, but I was able to kind of understand that part early on. So then I started thinking about, if I can really integrate technical education and then convert that into entrepreneurship somehow, that may be a better way to really take this to next level, right? Then I started, like I said, meeting with a lot of construction industry people that may have come through technical education, running construction companies and stuff like that. I really tried to learn what were their journeys and what are the things that they actually accomplished in education, how that helped their professional life and entrepreneurship life. So I was always very curious and excited about those type of stuff, right? Then when I was trying to look for engineering career or engineering education, I thought electrical engineering would really match Nepal's need, because early on I realized Nepal has a huge hydropower potential, right? And then electricity, hydropower, I'm like, you know what, these are related stuff. Maybe we can do something about it by pursuing this education that helped me do something in that industry, right? So I got really excited about electrical engineering. Throughout my engineering studies, 4 years, I was always figuring things out about, okay, what can I take from this education and convert it into some sort of like business, right? Then in my 4th year of my education, I was able to do a project called microhydro design in Nepal. And back then, microhydro is like tiny 3 kW to 100 kW type projects all over the country. Was kind of hotcake back then, right? So I was lucky to do that project, part of my final year project, and then after graduating bachelor's degree, I was 23, 24. I went to work for a small company. Within a month, I realized I just didn't like that. I started my own company doing the microhydro design. And we grew that company to almost 25 engineers in 12 months. And we did 35 plus projects all over the country. I mean, we were having a lot of fun, but I learned a lot about, sales and, execution and, cash flow and all that good stuff. Right. So after that, back then it was, because our work was in very remote part of Nepal, right? The mouse insurgency was causing us a lot of trouble doing our projects, and I was young, so I had a desire to kind of see the world and pursue my master's, right? So then I decided to come to U.S. to pursue my master's. Again, coming to U.S. in early 2000. Power, trying to get into power engineering degree was very new for our group of friends, right? Everybody wanted to go to computer science and tech and coding and all that, right? So I'm like, yeah, that might be easier way to get a job after graduation, but I wanted to stick to my passion, which is power and electrical, right? So we took a risk of really getting into power. Even though we had a risk of not even getting a job, right? So we stuck to our passion, and I did, and then we completed our master's with power engineering, and we got lucky. We found a job right away, like within a few weeks. I had a job at a global engineering and construction company in power industry, like exactly what I wanted to. So the challenge was, back then the internet was not that, available. People were not using a lot of resources, and that data were not available, right? So we had to rely on friends and families, and media was not that strong. So adjusting to U.S. culture was I will never forget that, right? I mean, we just didn't know how to operate, how people think. Right? So I mean,
it's a big learning process.
Yeah, the cultural understanding the culture was a big deal. I mean, it took several years to really understand how system works in the U.S. and how actually people think and people actually behave, right?
Right.
And that was the biggest transformation from coming from Nepal to here. And in Nepal, I was running a business. You're a big deal, right? You come
here, you're everybody's boss, and here you have to, we start from scratch, right?
Scratch. I mean, I've done all kind of odd jobs when I was going to school, right? I mean, everything, and it was a nightmare in the beginning.
Of course, not easy, right?
The life skills, right? That is helping us today, So
exactly. No, I do love that, you followed your passion. I think, especially when you're young, I think it's so easy to be like, oh my God, which job pays the most? I'll study that, right? And especially, coming from Nepal, I think we all have that, okay, right? That even, you were able to look at the opportunity cost and follow your passion. So, I think our sort of hope for the younger generation is also that, okay? That you don't always have to be that sheep in that herd. You can take your, do something different, but still make a life out of it. I know.
Absolutely. And that's the good thing about US, right? There's an opportunity for any kind of ideas, right? Again, that's one thing that, you just said, in Nepali mindset, you have to be doctor, you have to be engineer, this for successful. No, the answer is you can be anybody and be good at what you do and can be successful. I'm saying that's right. And that's what I learned early on, and which was very, like I said, when we came here, I think I found one Nepali guy in the entire US doing power engineering job. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. And then we've come such a long way from that. I think not just in terms of, just the sheer number of Nepalis in the US, there are also a lot of people doing a lot of exciting things. So, I think for our diaspora, it's such a different time, Paila Banda, right?
Absolutely.
Purnaji, a follow-up question, just in terms of the differences, right? You talked a little bit about the cultural understanding of the US or anywhere else outside the US, outside Nepal. This might say, I think one sort of thing that always stands out is work ethic, right? In terms of the work culture, let's say the US versus Nepal, might say, what were some things that you found different at that point only now, years and years later, what do you like? Do you still see a little bit of a difference, or are we sort of all on the same page?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest change. When some, especially when we grew up in Nepal, things have been different now than what we used to see back then. Like when I was growing up, the work culture didn't exist at all, right? I mean, I hate to say this, but everybody did the government job. There's no time, constraint, right? You get to do what I mean. Like I said, there's no schedule, there's no commitment,
there's no accountability.
There's no accountability, and people. I remember like a person I knew. He was in the U.S. He wanted to meet me in Nepal. He gave me a time that he wanted to meet, and I showed up like 1 hour late, and he was so upset. And I was like, "Why is this guy upset?" That's how we grew up, right?
Exactly. Right, Nepali time,
right? And again, you say things and you don't follow through, right? And very small, basic human skills. You don't need the coder or rocket science to do all those things. I always say, for you to be successful, 90% of what you need is a basic human skills, right? Is if you say something and you're going to do it, just do it. Time management, right? Trustworthy, integrity. I mean, you don't need to go to school to learn all of these things, right? But for you to be successful, those things make you successful 90%, right? 10% of your skill. That's how I always tell people.
No. I think that's so true. And I think when we were growing up, all these bad habits were all normalized, okay? Because everybody was sort of laid back. It didn't matter. It was just accepted.
Exactly. It was accepted. And in worst cases, it was actually celebrated. Like, so is so smart, and he or she makes things up, and I'm like, wow. And over here, you don't survive with that. If it's in trouble, if you have that kind of habit, like lying, making things up, and bragging and exaggerating, right? So small stuff like that. I think that was the biggest change. I think the new generation in Nepal nowadays are different, right? I think they're because of social media, maybe they're more influenced from the Western world. Right. I can see the newer generation is actually heading the right direction from the world perspective. Right. Growing up, I mean, that was not the thing for us.
There are no positive things definitely are happening. I think the younger generation especially are, I think, on par in terms of how they think. But I think there is sort of this so wide difference in China in terms of work culture and everything. There are next question, Matse Purnaji, like your transition into entrepreneurship. What are some, like, can you tell us about one impactful or challenging sort of project that you've worked on?
So again, let me make sure I understand the question. So can you repeat the question again? So is it about entrepreneurship, or is it a project that I've done as an entrepreneur, or
as an entrepreneur? One is, like you said, right? Nepal mai hundakheri pani, you joined a company, weren't happy, and you decided to do something on your own, right? I think that was your first leap into entrepreneurship. And then पछि US मा आएर पनि, like, after graduation, you joined a company. That at one point, once you came to the US, did you become an entrepreneur again? And then any exciting project from that point?
So the entrepreneurship journey that I had in Nepal, I always look back and try to find things that I enjoy doing, right? I always, even if I worked for other companies, money was important, but at some point I realized money was not that much important. What is most important is, do you enjoy what you do every day, every minute, every second of your life, right? In search of that happiness, I was always trying to figure out, what is that makes me happy, right? I realized I started as a design engineer in the US, designing high voltage power systems. I was okay engineer. I wouldn't call myself a great engineer. To be a great engineer, you need a little bit different mindset. And I don't think I have that. that I learned about myself is like, I'm more about project management, sales, client interactions, and really like visionary type person, right? Then I got into project management and operation management and sales at a big company, and I've done really well. Like I took a very small team of 4 or 5 people and on my own and with the leadership collaboration, we were able to grow that team to 50 plus people in like 12 months, right? So then I'm like, oh, I can do this better. So then I enjoy that, right? And then along the way, that entrepreneurship bug that was in me in Nepal, right? And then I realized the reason I was able to do a better job on sales and project management and client, relationship is because of my entrepreneurship mindset, right? Mm-hmm. And then I worked for big companies, 3, 4 major global companies, at a high level, like director and above level, right? So then I kind of learned when you get into the certain level of big companies, I learned that somewhere in this big corporate world, the soul of what matters is lost, right? Is like, to me, it's a very simple world, right? It's like people do the work, client pays the bill, and that's the business, right? As simple as that. Companies become so big, they lose the fact that matters, right? Which is those two things, people and client, right?
Exactly. The human touch is lost completely.
Corporate politics, a lot of red tapes, and then the focus is about, investor relationship. And now the founder who started that company had the right mindset, and along the line that got lost, and to a point where it became like quarterly type only, it's a mess, right? So I was working for a big company, he lost a lot of contracts and got in trouble. It was bought by the company, and the whole department was dissolved. I mean, that was like the everyday thing, right? And I'm like, I think there's a better way to do this than what they're doing. So that's when my entrepreneurship bug and the corporate frustration kind of piled up together. Myself, like, if I don't do it today, this will never happen. So,
but you channel this into all your frustration into something, positive and productive. So,
and here I'm sitting, right? I can see there's so much opportunities out there, and these big corporations are so busy fighting their internal battle.
Right.
We don't even have time to solve the problem, right? I'm like, we can solve this problem with that, right? Then I kind of decided to go on my own, and that's how I started the entrepreneurship journey, and really staying true to my why. Why did I start, right? Why was like only those two things, right? Money was not a why. Why was trying to solve this problem, right? And that's how we started, and that's how that became our company culture today, right? If you look at our values, it's employee first, client centricity, and leaders are servant leaders to serve our employees, and then we give it back to the communities. That's our culture, and again, staying really true to what we believe in is how we operate, right? I kind of got into entrepreneurship journey. So.
No, I love that, Purnaji. A quick follow up on this, right? As you're building and scaling a company, 10 people versus 50 versus 40, 400 is very different in terms of culture, especially maintaining that culture. Have you seen that, and how do you still try to, instill that culture you just talked about?
Yeah, actually, the funny thing was, even though I believed in those things, I didn't go to like MBA or any other business school. I have an electrical engineering degree, right? That's all I have. Working for like big companies, I've always taken the back office support, like HR, IT, all these other things for granted, right? You push the button, everything gets done, right? When you start your business, I mean, that's where you focus mostly, is to really practice is your backbone. That's a backbone, right?
Okay.
So, we went from like 0 to 15 within first 12 months, and then 45, 50 in next 18 or 24 months. Up to 30 people, I was able to manage successfully, right? I mean, individual interactions and all of that, like very successful companies. then when we had like 50 employees, and we were struggling. Right. Then a friend of mine, he's an executive on my client side, very, very good guy, very transparent guy. So we started having a lot of turnover, right? A lot of disgruntled employees, turnover. And I'm like, what's going on? I mean, I have no idea, right? I had like a couple of guys running the back office just to get by, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then he and I were having coffee one morning. He goes, Purna, I think you have some systemic issue. Like, what do you mean by systemic issue? Well, your turnover is kind of high for a small company like you. I mean, you got to think. I'm like, that hit me really hard. And I was already like thinking hard about what to do about things. But when what tells me that there's a systemic issue, then I'm like, you know what? This is a time that I need to really think hard about what we're doing and how to scale, right?
Right.
So then I started meeting some mentors and some larger company CEOs, and the suggestion was got to invest in back office, got to build that culture and what really glues people together, right? It's not like up to 30, 40 people because of you, people want to join you, but beyond that, you don't even get to know your people, right? So how do you glue people together is the culture. So we invested in really designing our culture in 2019, 2020, and it took almost a year to really design our culture. And also was around why did I even start a company? That's how it started, right? And that was the transformation for K&A to go from like 50 to now is like close to 500 employee firm, right? So it's just that culture transformation, and then also the structure of our leadership, right? Because along the way, being entrepreneur, one of the enemies of entrepreneurship is a micromanagement, because you started, this is your baby, right? You want everything by yourself. How to let go, how to trust others, right? Create the systems, and system drives the company as opposed to you driving everything yourself, right? And that's another learning curve for me along the way. And then now I think and we had to make a lot of changes along the way too. Not everybody fits into your culture, right? I mean, there are executives we had to hire, but they immediately we realized they don't fit into our culture, even though they're very beneficial from the business perspective.
Yeah, they look good like on paper, but don't fit. Right?
They can bring a lot of revenue, they can bring a lot of clients, but the problem is if the culture is not with their aligned, that can kill the company. So we had to get rid of a few of our executives because of those reasons, So anyway, it's been a very big learning curve. I think we're excited where we stand today. We're ready to take another big growth again, based on what we are able to build. So
no, amazing, and we're excited to see that growth and the next step for you. Maybe like talk a little bit about some initiatives that you're trying to do in Nepal. Share us about that.
Yeah, so we have about 150 or 140 employees in Nepal. By this January, in the next couple of weeks, we'll fill up our office. And a few things that one of them, in addition to really growing our business in Nepal. This is I was telling someone, yesterday, that because of my deep love to our motherland, right, we want to really continue to provide back to the community that I came from, right?
Right.
In addition to creating, 150 plus high-paying jobs, we also want to promote like engineering education in Nepal, right? One of the challenges that we have started seeing recently is lack of qualified, skilled resources in Nepal, right?
Right.
Even the worst part is I've been hearing that, some of the engineering colleges are not getting enough applicants to go to, bachelor's degree in Nepal. So that really concerns me personally because, we are planning on, doubling and tripling of our size of our office in the next, 3 to 5 years. And my worry is or
the pipeline for that, right?
Talent pool, right? And if people stop going to engineering school, how would that look like 3 years from today? Are we even going to get applicants if we have like 50 positions open, right? Exactly. So look, what I'm trying to do recently is to really help promote engineering education in Nepal and really try to tell young people that you don't have to rush to come to overseas right after your, you can get your engineering school while, eating your dal bhat with your, mother and father and enjoying the culture. That even work in Nepal for a few years, get real, experience.
Hands-on experience, exactly.
Come here to be very successful. You have to come here right after a +2. That's just, a lot of times those people even have hard time completing their bachelor's degree, right? Exactly. While working and, paying fees and all that, right? So there's a lot of opportunities in Nepal. Like, there are a lot of companies like us in Nepal, right? Mm-hmm. I was talking to some of the, tech companies, they have, offices in the US and big office in Nepal. And they were saying like, they have a hard time finding, computer engineers and computer science people. The turnover is very high. They just work there for a year or two and they just want to go abroad, right?
Exactly. And then there's also this poaching from,
the market is already small, and then poaching from that individual, it's not right. How do we create a lot of resources so that everybody has enough staff? There's no poaching going on, right?
Exactly.
How do we take that to next level where we have the best STEM education and engineering education in South Asian countries where big, tech want to open an office in Nepal, right?
Of course. That's the hope, Purnaji. And I think that's the reason Hajurama we connected as well, right? I think at TGND, that's what we want to also promote and highlight, right? That there are entrepreneurs like yourself that are really trying to create these opportunities in Nepal. I think what's also been happening is a lot of people, young people, don't even know that there is a lot of work going behind the scenes to make that happen. That there are opportunities where they can get good salaries, live with their family, and enjoy that for a few years, and they don't have to be so desperate to jump out of Nepal immediately, Manera, right?
Absolutely. It's just like, I know there's a lot of negative news going on. Negative media gets a lot of attention. So how do we really turn that into positive and really retain good talent in Nepal and really show them the math that, making, 70 or 1,000 or 80,000 or 1 lakh a month right after school in Nepal is not really bad. I mean, you can save a lot of money, you can enjoy life and really pursue your master's even in Nepal, right? So there's a lot of good opportunities in Nepal. So I think this is where I want to invest some of my time. Plus, we also give it back to the communities in Nepal. Again, a charity will not develop the country, but at least makes us feel better that we're really helping needy people.
Okay.
Like we're supporting some NGOs in the mountain regions, and I also give back to the village that I grew up in, the medical and education and whatever I can help. So we also have constant K&A cares activities going on in Nepal. So
lots of exciting things, and I am grateful that you are contributing in different ways, whether through charity, whether through really, emphasizing the STEM education in Nepal. And I think that's where we'll, even in the future, we'll align some more. But a quick question, Purnaji. You suppose with your experience of studying in Nepal, working in Nepal, and now in the US, and building this huge company and everything, Matsai, what is your sort of view on the, I guess, importance of Nepali diaspora in general? Any organizations like TGND, okay? What role can we play in terms of Nepal to contribute to Hamra community as well as to Nepal?
Yeah, I think there's a huge opportunity for Nepali diaspora across the world to help our Nepali economy, right? So if that's the biggest help we can contribute, right? Charity is good, it feels good, but I don't think charity will help develop the country, right?
Not sustainable, yeah.
It helps the needy people to solve some immediate problems, but the long term, we must figure out ways to help our economy, right? I was reading an article I think recently about this international like tech world company like us are able to bring almost $600 million worth of revenue in the last fiscal year, right? That's a huge deal, right? And that is without any focused effort from government or people they're supposed to be doing, right? That just happened like through
it's already happening. It's happening organically, right?
Organically, right. If you go to like India, I mean, it's a huge chunk of their GDP comes from type of work, right? I mean, I was in Delhi and some Mumbai, and they're companies, they have 50,000, 30,000 employees doing global work, right? So we may not be able to get there today, but I think in late 90s, early 2000, it was NRIs who believed in India,
right?
And they're the top of the tech world now globally, right? They can influence a lot those decisions, but right now, I think Nepali diaspora is the one who can take the risk and bet Nepal instead of like someone who has no idea of Nepal, right? Like someone who has no idea of Nepal will never go to Nepal unless we prove ourselves that this is a place we can do business.
Exactly. We have to prove that it's investable in so many ways, and then I think others will follow, right?
Right. So first they want to see that, K&A has 500 employees and doing great work, and then now another company want to do the business in Nepal, right?
Exactly.
Some big tech companies, and they may have 1,000, 2,000 employees and really producing high quality work, and they have proved that Nepal has the right talent and right infrastructure to support the operation. Then Microsoft may look at it, right? Apple may look at it, or Google may look at it. But I think it must start with diaspora, right? In the last 20, 30 years of our migration, even though it was bad for our country, but I think this may turn into a blessing for our country where most of our people have reached to a certain potential already, whether it's entrepreneurship or corporate ladder or whatever it is. They all can really, if they can put an effort, they can make differences. Like someone, maybe at a director or VP level at Microsoft, right, can throw an idea to their executives meeting like, hey, Nepal could be another way we can go and start an operation, right? So I think if we can really think hard and try to do something about bringing a piece of what we do internationally to Nepal, could be fully.
Of course.
It doesn't matter, right? If we start doing that, one, it's not just a helping country, right? You get your cultural, for when we had a need to start overseas operation, I immediately thought about Nepal. I met probably 30 people along the way. Every one of them said, don't do it. But what made me strong was, if anywhere in the world, I want to do it in Nepal. For a couple of reasons. One, I know exactly how Nepali people work.
Right.
Exactly what the risks are, right? And I know how to mitigate those risks, right? And I have my family in Nepal. I can call them. Right? So I'm sure every one of Nepali diaspora people have that connection back in them. Instead of going to India or Middle East, anywhere in the world, I would go to Nepal, right? Really start. So that is my suggestion and recommendation to people. So.
No, of course. And I think, people like you are also setting an example, right? In terms of that Nepal is, risk bhye pani, we can mitigate it. We know the nuances, Vanera. And I think, TGND ma chahi, that's also what we want to highlight, right? I think Nepali diaspora, like you said, I think it's more educated, powerful, like in powerful places, whether, you have your own company or you are high up in that corporate ladder, that I think our work so far was so fragmented. Okay? We didn't know what somebody else was doing, and there's so many common threads, right? I think across what people are doing. So hamro hope is to actually, showcase that. And I think त्यसले गर्दाखेरि there are positive outcomes hopefully to come out of that.
Absolutely. I mean, again, people learn by seeing, right? And it's one thing to say, it's one thing to do it.
Right.
Other people doing it, they learn fast. So I think with the power of media and sharing with everybody else, I think let's continue to inspire a lot more diaspora people to do our economy, right? So.
Perfect, Purnaji. And on that note, my last question, Lama question, my last one. There's a lot of, younger people, students, early career professionals that want, that might look at you and say, oh my God, I want to be like Purnaji, right? What are one or two, pieces of advice that you can give to these people?
Yeah. So, dream big, right? You got to dream, but don't try to copy others because everybody has their own journey, right? Try to understand what is that you really want to do in life, right? It doesn't need to be engineering, doesn't need to be construction, doesn't need to be IT, whatever that is, right? And figure, be curious about the journey, what potentials, how to get there, and try to find mentors and people they have already walked that journey and try to learn from them, right?
Right.
So what excites you? Is it law excites you? Is it medicine excites you? Is it engineering excites you? Coding excites you? Whatever that is, right? Or art or whatever, right? Or blogging, right? Anything that people can do, right? And then and stay really hungry, right? Stay hungry and hard work. Things don't happen overnight, right? I mean, you may see someone like, oh, someone became billionaire overnight. It's not overnight.
It's not. It never is.
I mean, for me, I look at my journey as almost 40 years of investment to get to where we are today. I mean, I wouldn't consider myself extremely successful, but it's not overnight. Let's put it that way. Right. Nobody has overnight. So just put time. You got to put the time. You got to, be able to learn to be, learn to wait, because things happen at the right time, right? Exactly. And honesty and integrity, really honest integrity, basic human skills. Try to perfect those, right? That's your brand. If when people think about you, how do you want to be thought about, right? Is that person is dependable, trustworthy. I can count on that person.
Exactly.
Well, all these basic human skills, you don't have to be rocket scientist for that. So as long as you do it, again, success is not just a financial success, right? There's all kinds of successes, right? I was reading an article about like 7 different successes or something like that. So don't just say, if I make a lot of money, I'm going to be successful. No, that's not the only way, right? So.
Oh, thank you. I think this is very useful and helpful, Purnaji. Abatse will sort of do this new section we've introduced for this 3rd season of our podcast. It's called Rapid Fire. I think we have 7 or so questions, very easy ones. That just don't overthink it. Just answer, whatever comes to your mind.
Sure.
Ready?
Uh-huh.
Dream destination.
Dream destination. All right. Oh, no overthink, right?
Favorite vacation spot?
Okay. I was thinking about Greece, Santorini, actually. So.
Oh, awesome. Mountains or ocean?
I would say ocean.
Makes sense. Favorite Nepali food?
I'm sure momo comes top.
Is there one Nepali food you can cook?
I cook a lot of stuff, so I can cook chicken chola pretty good.
Awesome. So next time, Purnaji, you have to invite us and, cook the chicken chola for us. Next one, say, are you an early bird or do you are you a night owl? Do you wake up early or late?
I'm definitely early bird, but I don't go to bed early either. So,
and I think that's the entrepreneur life of an entrepreneur, right?
Pretty much 24 hours, right?
Of course. How's your leadership style in one word?
Collaborative.
That's a very good one. A book you just read or are reading now?
So I'm reading this book called 4 Disciplines of Excellence. And it seems very interesting and maybe game changing for what we do. So called 4DX.
Awesome. I am going to put that as a recommendation. We have a big list of book recommendations for TGND. So I'll definitely put that. And with that, I think we've come to the end of our podcast recording. Purna ji, thank you so much. I think we're so grateful for your time, as well as I think your leadership in general. And I think we'll see a lot more of you in terms of हजुरले गर्न खोजेको कुराहरू, in terms of whether it's in North America or in Nepal. So, wish you all the best. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
And to our subscribers, please like and share, and we'll get back to you really soon. Thank you.
Bye-bye.